Warriors fans are undoubtedly feeling anxious as the team continues to struggle without their star player, Stephen Curry. The team's performance has been rough, and the question on everyone's mind is whether Curry will be back soon enough to help steer them away from a potential collapse in the final stretch of the regular season. Tonight's game provided another frustrating chapter in what's become a concerning narrative for the Warriors. With their playoff hopes hanging by a thread, there's a lot to unpack from this latest loss, which only compounds the pressure on this team. In their most recent outing, the Warriors were handed a crushing defeat by the Miami Heat. The final score of 112-86 tells you all you need to know. This wasn't just a loss, it was a complete embarrassment. The Warriors only managed to score 16 points in the entire fourth quarter, a number that's just unacceptable for a team with championship aspirations. It wasn't just the loss that was troubling, but the way they lost. This wasn't just a matter of missing a few shots here and there, but rather a complete and utter collapse of everything that's made the Warriors a successful team in recent years. The offense was non-existent, the defense was porous, and the energy just wasn't there. To make matters worse, Curry's absence was felt more than ever. The Warriors started the game with one of the strangest lineups we've seen in a long time. Steve Kerr made the decision to shake things up, putting Gary Payton II into the starting five, alongside Moses Moody, Draymond Green, and the usual suspects, with Payton at the 4 spot. This move was likely an attempt to inject some energy into the team after a lackluster performance in their previous game against the Atlanta Hawks. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The Warriors came out flat, and Miami immediately jumped on them, taking a commanding lead early in the first quarter. Payton was supposed to provide the spark, but instead, the team looked even more disjointed. What followed was a performance that had fans shaking their heads and wondering just what went wrong. As bad as the Warriors were, the Heat didn't exactly light it up either. But the real story of the game was Jimmy Butler, who failed to live up to the hype surrounding his return to Miami. This was the game that everyone had been talking about, with national media making it out to be a grudge match, with Butler back in Miami for the first time since his departure. However, Butler's performance was underwhelming to say the least. He finished the game with just 11 points on 5 of 12 shooting, and it was a non-factor for most of the night. At times, it felt like he was almost invisible on the court. His shooting was off, and he wasn't able to get into the flow of the game. What's more, Butler was repeatedly blocked by Andrew Wiggins, a former Warrior who made several key plays to keep Butler from being any kind of threat. It was a disappointing showing for someone who's known for stepping up in big moments, especially when his team needs him the most. But this game wasn't just about Butler's struggles. It was also about the Warriors' inability to adjust and capitalize on their opportunities. The absence of Curry, as expected, left a massive hole in their offense. But even without him, the Warriors should still have been able to compete. The team is built on a system that relies on ball movement, spacing, and making open shots. Without Curry, though, opposing teams have figured out the formula to beat the Warriors. They're daring the other players to shoot, and so far, they haven't been able to make anyone pay. The Warriors shot less than 40% from the field and just 23% from beyond the arc. At one point, the only starter who had made a three-pointer was Brandon Pikey, and that came well into the second quarter. It was ugly basketball all around, and the Warriors couldn't seem to get anything going offensively. What made matters worse was their inability to take care of the basketball. The team committed 16 turnovers, a sign of poor decision-making and lack of discipline. And while they did manage to collect 8 steals, it wasn't enough to make up for all the mistakes they were making on the other end of the floor. As the game wore on, it became clear that the starting lineup simply wasn't working. Draymond Green, usually a reliable contributor, had one of his worst games of the season. He went 0 of 3 from three-point range, and his stat line showed just 2 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Draymond is typically known for making key plays when his team needs him most, but tonight he couldn't find his rhythm. Even Gary Payton II, who was inserted into the lineup to bring energy, struggled. He finished with a -21 plus-minus rating, which was the worst among the starters. It wasn't all bad, though. Brandon Pikey, who's been playing well since his return from injury, was one of the few bright spots. He scored 17 points and made some important shots, but even his performance wasn't enough to overcome the disaster unfolding on the court. The bench didn't fare much better, but at least they managed to outscore Miami's bench. Still, when players like Pat Spencer and Kevin Knox are getting minutes in a game, it's usually a sign that things have gone terribly wrong. By the time Trace Jackson-Davis and TJD were on the floor, the game was already out of reach. The Warriors were clearly in damage control mode, with the starters resting and the game slipping further away. Even though the bench had a decent scoring run, it wasn't nearly enough to salvage the game. At the end of the day, the blame for this defeat comes down to one thing: the absence of Steph Curry. Without him, the Warriors just aren't the same team. His leadership, scoring, and overall presence on the court are irreplaceable. It's clear that the system is built around Curry, and when he's not out there, the entire dynamic shifts. Teams are now daring the rest of the Warriors to shoot threes, and without Curry's sharpshooting, the team is failing to capitalize. This has been the Achilles heel of the Warriors in these last 2 games, and the team has struggled to adjust. There's a silver lining, however. According to an update from Anthony Slater, Curry could be back as early as their next game in New Orleans. The team is hoping that he'll be fully healed and ready to help them turn things around. But for now, the Warriors are in a dangerous position. Losing these 2 games without Curry has dropped them down the standings, and the pressure is mounting. With only 10 games left in the season, they'll need to find a way to turn things around quickly if they want to hold on to their playoff spot. Fortunately, the next few games are winnable, but without Curry, it's hard to feel confident about their chances. The Warriors have shown that they can perform without him, but right now, that feels like a distant memory. If they want to avoid a nosedive into the play-in tournament, they'll need to pick it up fast. Now, the question remains: will Curry's return be enough to save the Warriors' season, or will they fall into a deeper hole that's too hard to dig out of? We'll have to wait and see, but one thing is clear: the Warriors are in trouble, and they need to regroup fast if they want to avoid another disappointing postseason run. As we look ahead to the final stretch of the regular season, the pressure on the Warriors is mounting. With Curry's return just around the corner, there's still hope, but this recent 2-game losing streak has shown just how fragile this team is without their leader. The Warriors have been through tough times before, and they've always found a way to bounce back, but the clock is ticking. They've now dropped 2 games in a row, and with the playoffs on the line, every game becomes more critical. The Warriors have been lucky enough to escape some of their challenges in previous years, but now it seems like they are finally paying the price for being so reliant on Curry. The system they've built is designed to thrive when he's on the floor, but without him, the cracks in their foundation are becoming more and more apparent. The Warriors still have time to turn things around, but they need to start executing better across the board. One area where they've been struggling is ball movement. The Warriors are known for their quick passes, their fast breaks, and their ability to find the open man. But lately, that hasn't been happening. Their 20 assists in the Miami game were far below their usual standards, and this lack of ball movement is one of the reasons why their offense has stalled. When the Warriors are clicking, the ball is whipping around the court, players are cutting to the basket, and everyone is involved in the action. But right now, the ball seems to be sticking, and players are struggling to create open shots. This stagnation has allowed opposing defenses to pack the paint and dare the Warriors to shoot from the outside. Unfortunately for the Warriors, that strategy is working because their perimeter shooting has been abysmal. It's not just the offense that's struggling, though. The Warriors' defense, once a hallmark of their championship teams, has been inconsistent at best. They've been giving up far too many easy buckets, and their defensive rotations have been sluggish. Without Curry's ability to space the floor and create opportunities for others, the Warriors are having to rely on their defense to keep them in games. Unfortunately, they've been falling short in that area as well. The Heat exposed their defensive flaws, particularly when it came to containing the pick and roll and closing out on shooters. This lack of defensive intensity has made it even more difficult for the Warriors to stay competitive in games without Curry's offensive brilliance to lean on. The Warriors' struggles are even more concerning given the teams they're going to face in the next few games. The Western Conference playoff race is incredibly tight, and every game counts. They have upcoming matchups against the New Orleans Pelicans, the San Antonio Spurs, Memphis Grizzlies, and the Los Angeles Lakers. All of these teams present unique challenges, but they also represent opportunities for the Warriors to get back on track. The Pelicans and Spurs are both beatable, even without Curry, while the Grizzlies and Lakers will be tougher tests. Memphis is a team that has been playing well all season, and with the emergence of Ja Morant as a true superstar, they will provide a tough challenge for the Warriors. The Lakers, led by LeBron James, have been playing solid basketball as of late, and their size and length could cause problems for the Warriors, especially if they continue to struggle with their shooting and ball movement. The Warriors know that they can't afford to keep dropping games. Their spot in the standings is precarious, and the Clippers are nipping at their heels. With only a few games left, it's clear that the Warriors' fate will be determined by how they perform in these crucial matchups. They'll need to step up their game in all areas: offense, defense, and especially effort. One of the biggest questions surrounding this team is whether they can find the energy and intensity they need to make a run at the playoffs. There's no question that they have the talent, but right now, they're not playing like a team that's capable of making a deep postseason run. They need to refocus, rediscover their rhythm, and play with the sense of urgency that the situation demands. As for Curry, his return could be the spark the Warriors need to get back on track. But even when he returns, it's not guaranteed that everything will magically fall into place. Curry's presence on the court will certainly help, but the team's issues run deeper than just one player. The Warriors need to make adjustments across the board, whether it's improving their defense, increasing their ball movement, or simply finding the right lineup that can get the best out of every player. Steve Kerr will have to work his coaching magic to get this team back to the level they were playing at earlier in the season. With a healthy Curry back in the fold, the Warriors should have a better shot at competing, but they still need to clean up their mistakes and execute the way they know they can. This is a team that's been through ups and downs before, but the stakes have never been higher. The Warriors have always prided themselves on their ability to turn it on when it matters most, but they can't keep relying on that. It's time to start performing now, because every game from here on out is a must-win. The Warriors are in a fight for their playoff lives, and the next few weeks will determine whether they can make a deep run or if they'll fall short of their lofty expectations. There's still hope, but it's quickly running out. As Curry gets closer to returning, it's clear that the Warriors will need him more than ever to keep their playoff hopes alive. And if they can't get things together before the postseason begins, it's going to be a tough road ahead. The pressure is on, and the Warriors know that time is running out to turn this season around. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Imagine this. One of the NBA's most iconic players, Kevin Durant, returning to a place where he already achieved legendary status, the Golden State Warriors. The rumors are swirling, the whispers are getting louder, and basketball fans everywhere are left wondering, could this actually happen? Durant, who won 2 championships with the Warriors in 2017 and 2018, was a key part of one of the most dominant dynasties in NBA history. Now, as he continues to shine with the Phoenix Suns, speculation grows that he might rejoin his former team. But what would this reunion mean for both Durant and the Warriors? If Durant does make his way back to the Bay Area, the implications would be seismic. With the Warriors' championship window still open, pairing Durant once again with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green would be a move that could redefine the league. The Warriors' style of play, which thrived on ball movement, shooting, and versatility, will be the perfect fit for Durant's unique skill set. But how would this affect the team's current dynamics, particularly with the emergence of younger stars like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody? Could Durant's return push the Warriors back into championship contention, or would it stir up internal tensions? While this rumor stirs excitement, it's important to keep in mind that such a move would require more than just wishful thinking. Durant's history with the Warriors, including the bitter exit in 2019 due to an Achilles injury, is still fresh in the minds of many. Would the Warriors' front office and Durant's camp be willing to overcome any lingering animosities? The possibility of Durant's return adds an unpredictable twist to the already intriguing NBA landscape, and only time will tell if this is a fantasy or a future reality for the Golden State Warriors. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.